The Dusty Futon podcast is a product of the Dusty Futon LLC and Dusty Futon Productions. Go to dustyfuton.com for more information. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Dusty Futon Producers Corner with our brand new host, Dirty Disciple of Noise Cartel Records. And this episode is brought to you by Backstage360.com, the musician's media. The Dusty Futon is a musician's podcast bringing you the raw musician and what they bring to the table. Backstage360.com works hard to bring you even more with creative write-ups, professional interviews, and stunning photography. Full disclosure, I do contribute write-ups and reviews and conduct interviews for them occasionally. Backstage360.com also assists with the promotion of events, products, tours, new music, and they provide an overall insider's peek into the impedimenta of the backstage. Backstage360.com, they truly are the musician's media. In this episode, we talked to an artist named King Shem. This guy's been writing and producing on the scene all across the country for decades. We spend most of the time talking about sampling and kind of getting into what it takes to be a producer. As a matter of fact, the first 5 or 6 minutes alone are just him talking about sampling. Dirty doesn't really get too many words in edgewise for about the first 20 minutes because this guy has so much knowledge to impart. So without further ado, let's dive right into this episode.
Yo, hey.
Check.
Hey, how you doing?
Let me just,
Gary Busey, hey.
Sorry, that was Sylvester Stallone.
That's what I talk regularly, people say.
The Dusty Futon. Come sit where some dude girlfriend got pregnant by another dude.
You never know.
Dusty Futon.
Dirty's doing his homework right now, getting ready for the to talk to you guys. So
yeah, man.
should probably get some headphones on and get in front of that microphone.
Check.
Is there anything in particular you want to mention or talk about?
Well, let's see what happens on the show.
I'll probably promote what's already out there.
Just go ahead and
on every
kick it off
streaming
and-
service there is, except for Pandora. For some reason, they hate me. But everything else,
We can talk about
Oh, I can agree with you on the Pandora, man. That one didn't make sense. We can't.
I think we've already started, so
yet they have like
just go, Matt, Dirty. Just go ahead and step in and start this officially.
let's go.
All right, what's up? Welcome to the Dusty Futon. My name is Dirty Disciple. I'm here with Big Jon.
What up?
And we have special guest on the show, King Shem.
Yo,
What's up, King?
what's up?
Not
Thank
too
you
much.
for having me.
Thanks for coming out here.
We love
And you have brought Van Brando with you.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
This is going to be fun. I can already tell.
My brother at arms, we make music together. We have the same management. We're going to be doing a tour together later on this summer in
sir.
August, which is going to be awesome.
That accent. Where's it from?
Boston,
Oh,
Massachusetts.
God.
I actually
You
grew
mass.
up in a city called Brockton, which is about 15 minutes outside of the city of Boston. And yeah.
Nice.
Did you do music out there?
Oh, yeah. That's where I started. I actually, I don't know. I guess I started really young, just making tapes in school in the 90s, like with no equipment, just rhyming, selling bootleg tapes. I used to have this stacks of 45 records that were my mom's and like a dual-cassette tape.
Oh.
So I would loop things on the tape and then painstakingly bring it back and loop it. And then eventually got turntables and 4-track, and that's when I started being able to multi-layer samples. And then after a while is when I started getting into, building stuff from scratch, and now I'm at the point where I still sample here and there, and but now I'm at the point where I try to capture the vibe or tone of a record. Like this one song that I was actually working on for my new record this week is sounds like a 70s cop show theme song. You know what I mean? And it took a while to get everything in sync, but it's not like I didn't sample Beretta to get it. I just try to recreate that sound,
So when you say sample, now where do you go to find your samples? Like where do you reach out for that?
It depends. Like to me, sampling is not only an art form, but it's also like from the outside looking in. If you're not doing it, sometimes it's hard to comprehend it because people immediately think like Puff Daddy taking a whole section of The Police or something, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, what got me really like hyped on it when I first started making hip hop was one, it was like all of a sudden I had all these bands at my disposal. You know what I mean? I could get a kick drum from this record or a horn stab from this record. And listening to stuff like Public Enemy's second album, Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique, the first De La record really showed how creative you can be. It's almost like right now, if you bring in 50 different boxes of puzzles, and I took little pieces from each puzzle and I made an amazing new picture. You know, you're not really focused on the fragments of what it came because you're looking at the picture. But sampling, I think, especially in hip hop, because people do stuff like can't touch this, you know, it gets kind of frowned upon because they're like, oh, well, that's not music. You're just sampling something. But when I'm sampling a sound, like I have one song I sample, like just say like Jimi Hendrix tuning, and then that sound is going across my keyboard, and now I'm just playing that sound. You know, I'm not necessarily doing that. But it's always been there. You know what I mean? You look at like Led Zeppelin, they were basically sampling blues riffs. If you look at modern art or like Andy Warhol, he would take something familiar from pop culture and paint a new picture with that incorporated. That's like a form of sampling.
It sounds like it's kind of like those junkers who get pieces of metal that like you have a brake drum and you turn it into somebody's face by cutting a hole into it.
Yeah, and a lot of samples, like I'm at the point where like my hard drive is full of me just building my own samples. Have like years of files of friends just jamming and like playing live, and I'd go back and sample stuff. And then I do find like a lot of obscure samples that are hard to place. I very rarely, I think when I put out my mixtape last summer, when I first moved out here, that was the first time I think I put out something that I sampled from that was recognizable. You know, I just put out for free. There's stuff like I've always wanted to sample. I sampled something from like Metallica, Marilyn Manson, Extreme, but I just gave it out for free. I wasn't trying to resell it, and it was just kind of just to get back into the groove. There's so much technology, and I went from when I first started making beats using all these samplers and to where it is now, like just a lot of hardware. And now everything I do is mostly I'd say 90% software based. So you can get pulled into this rabbit hole of just tweaking stuff endlessly. And I think I came to the point where I decided if I'm going to do music again, I have to get back to like what I like. And I just wanted to get back to that raw sound of in my mom's basement on a 4-track. So I just recorded this really raw mixtape, left in all the mistakes and stuff. And that's kind of what set off out here. People liked it out here, and it started to kind of build, and I started playing shows, and it just goes from there. But that core of me is always going to be a hip hop dude, you know? So like I like that dirty, raw crunch, or even just music today is so clean, you know, and like I used to love to sample records just to get that crackle. Now I have those crackles, like just effects of those crackles, and under every one of my songs, it'll be buried in the mix, but that crackle will be there. So it sounds like you're listening to an old record.
It is really nice because now it seems like everything is overproduced to get rid of all of the background noise. And that's great for certain types of music like pop.
Yeah.
But
or a Taylor Swift record or something.
Yeah, something like you got T Swift.
I have a
you
Taylor
wearing
Swift
T
shirt
Swift.
You know, but I understand what you're saying about, because you got to think too, man. Like the records that like I know, I'll speak for me personally, that I grew up loving, whether they're like hip hop albums like License to Ill or Raising Hell or even discovering like Sgt. Pepper or stuff like that. Like they didn't even have half the stuff we have now.
No.
They were recording like on 4 tracks and like overdubbing, and I'll never forget one time I was playing the show back home in Boston, this club in the Middle East, and we were playing with another band I won't mention, but they were like another rap band, and their stuff is really dope, but it had that overproduced quality. And after the show, he was like, "Yo, man, like, what apps are you using? What I mean, what plugins are you using? What are you using to get your music so loud? Because it sounds so loud live. And I was just like, I just turn it all the way up. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even. We're in this like wild west of the music industry and how people are getting music and people just stealing music which is great, dude. I'd love for people to steal my album. That means they're listening to it.
It's funny how many musicians are okay. Most musicians, especially independent artists.
We're basically t-shirt salesmen now, merch salesmen.
And rocking your shows, man, that's really where you're going to gain that fan base, dude.
And you need to think, too, that the average listener is now listening to your song out of their phone, out of wherever. They don't have studio monitors. Everybody doesn't have Beats by Dre headphones, which are kind of super glorified headphones because they're trash garbage. But side note, he should put out his own line of sheets. I would buy those sheets by Dre, and they're like really super comfortable and make you feel gangster. But yeah, man.
No, like, Dr. Dre, make sure you're listening.
Like Brando was saying, like playing shows, man. We play shows. Like I grew up playing with like being the only, because the style of hip hop I was making at the time in Boston coming up in the 90s just didn't fit in with what was local Boston hip hop. So we played with just punk and hardcore bands, and that's how I learned how to play shows. So I can't now play a show and stand in place and rap. I have to be hanging from something, jumping off something, breaking something, throwing something, and just going crazy because you got to keep that energy up, especially when you're not with a full band. And I've played with just turntables, I've played with a full band, I've played by myself, and it's always that same energy.
Dirty, you've never seen these guys, right?
I've never seen him perform. No.
I've never seen him perform. Where do you perform at?
You want to take it?
Sure.
I mean, Brick by Brick, the Bancroft, man, as far as some local city pub was another spot out in San Diego. But
June 21st, we're playing at the Brick by Brick. Me, him, a metal band, a punk band, and Midget Championship Wrestling.
No shit. I've been trying to go to one of those for so long.
Dude,
shout out to MCW, man. Yes, sir.
They do them all the time up here, and I miss every single one.
Yeah, man, I'll
June 21st?
I'll shoot you guys some tickets for the show.
Cool.
I actually brought him up here, so definitely should come out.
Yeah.
June 21st?
Yeah.
June 21st.
June 21st is a Thursday.
And where's that at again?
Brick by Brick.
Brick by Brick.
Punk Club.
Sick,
yeah,
man.
we don't necessarily play a lot of hip-hop spots because most of the guys on the roster of our crew mix other stuff into it. There's me, Van Brando, guy Jay Andrews, that puts a lot of rock.
In my personal opinion, I've noticed that there are a lot more rock fans who enjoy the crossover. I call it a crossover band. You know, you add a lot of hip-hop flair to rock, or you add a lot of rock flair to hip-hop, and it creates this like amalgamation of beautiful music that just kind of rocks your socks off, but yet makes you feel good about doing it.
Right. Well, that's how my head always works. My head is just constantly like 5 different albums at a time playing whatever is influencing me that day. It's just overlapping, you know? And that's the best thing about music. And I think that's a good thing about how everything is now, where you can literally find everything on the internet, but it's also like that's the curse. You have to like dig through so much stuff just to get to good stuff. And like I grew up I'm like from like the junior high of hip hop, if you will. Like not like old school like hip dippity doo, but like right when things started changing and rappers stopped dressing like the Village People and started just dressing like dudes in the neighborhood, like when Run DMC came out or Beastie Boys, and then that whole era of hip hop that I grew up on. Each band was self-contained. There was like definitely, you know, a lot of sampling, and like live music was just starting to come back into it with bands like the Beastie Boys or like Urban Dance Squad. But every group was self-contained and sounded different, just like, you know, if you parallel to like a lot of rock bands, you know, just sound completely different than each other. But now I think the problem with a lot of mainstream pop and hip hop is like, who's the hot producer this week? You know, give me a song like this person that just sang something similar. And so it's about the beat and not about the thing. And it is like, you know, people will pick and choose. Like I'll put out an album and I still sequence my albums. I still, you know, have my intros and my interludes because I'm still thinking in that, oh, this is how the record goes. But I'm also aware that people just pick apart what parts they want to listen to, which is fine, you know. But I just remember being a kid growing up, and you would just stare at a record cover forever because you couldn't like just instantly go online and find out about the band. So you read the credits a million times, and that helped me with making beats years later when I started DJing. Because say I'd sample some old 70s funk record, but then I'd be reading it and I'd know who played on it, and I'd notice this guy played on another record, and then, oh, they use this instrument, and then I would start looking for records with that instrument, and it's like this whole Pandora box of sound. But I'm glad I did that. One of my all-time favorite bands is the fucking Beach Boys, because Brian Wilson was a genius.
I haven't said much because he's touching on everything important.
I keep looking at you. I'm like, you got something to say or not?
I'm just sitting here like,
Well, how
stuff
about
comes into my head. He's just,
How about we listen to a track and kind of break this the convo up for a second? What's your new album called?
Black Hesher. It's kind of like me. Like, I'm mixed. You know what I mean? My dad's black. My mother's white. To like a black
I never
Irish
heard that term
kid.
before.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Mixed. You know,
Hesher?
the mulatto.
Hesher?
Hesher is like I picked it up like around, because I lived in LA a lot for many years, and that's kind of where I picked it up. And it was kind of like the SoCal word for like stoner metal kid, skater kid, and
that explains
like
the track.
Black Hesher.
That explains the track. I don't know. That sounds like a new. Is that a fairly new term?
Black Hesher, I think I just invented.
No, I mean the Hesher term. Like,
No,
I've heard that
I didn't make
before.
it up. Like, I've been hearing it for years. You know what I mean? And that was the definition that I got from it. I think there's even a movie called Hesher. It's just
weird. Like, I didn't know what the hell
word
that
for
meant.
like stoner metal skater
Yeah.
kid. So,
What's the song called?
Runaway. Well, let's
Oh.
do Runaway.
all right, yeah.
Unless you want to hear a different one.
I would. Yeah, man, I'm gonna play this. This one's like really different than anything I ever did, so it's kind of funny, I guess, starting on this. Go for it, man. Who cares,
And
you know?
is Black Hesher an EP or an album?
It's gonna be a full-length album, but I think I'm gonna have like a follow-up EP for it right away, because I have so many songs, and each song. I just woke up and I'm like, I'm gonna make the song this way today, you know. So there's no, I'm the unifying theme, and it sounds like one cohesive record, but like the song we're about to play has a lot of weird country elements. Kind of reminds me of like 70s SoCal rock, like Eagles, stuff like that, but with a little bit of hip hop. You can hear it in the drums and stuff. Then some days I just make straight punk songs. Like the other day I made like a 60s sounding weird psychedelic song. It's just whatever I feel like, because I'm at this point, I can produce anything. I've been making beats for almost 30 years. You know what I mean? And I can, whether I'm sampling or we're making it from scratch. And, you know, my biggest influence as a producer has always been Rick Rubin, in the sense, because he's the only one I can really think of that produced everything, you know, from the Beasties and LL Cool J and Public Enemy to Slayer to Johnny Cash to the Dixie Chicks to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then came back again into hip hop and did some dope stuff with like Kanye, Jay-Z, Eminem. Like, I mean, to get to sampling, the one, not knocking them, but the one time I've ever been disappointed was like the first time that Dre and Rick Rubin got in the studio for Eminem, and they just fucking looped up Stroke Me. You know what I mean? Like, all these geniuses in one room, and they're gonna rap to Stroke Me? Like, come on. But yeah, all right.
All right, let's check it out. So this is a song called Runaway by King Shem from the album Black Hesher.
And I don't even care no more. Go ahead and run away. Right over there's the door. Nothing left to say. Feels like I'm always bending over backwards. While you smile and look at me laughing. Now I'm here, like what the hell happened? I wasn't playing in the sky, now I'm crashing. I'm catching feelings like poison ivy rashes. Now I'm asking what happened to the passion. Masking the pain as my heart starts collapsing. Gasping for air through poisonous gases. I thought our love would be everlasting, but compassion turned to trespassing. Life's full of pain, sometimes it gets tragic, but it all goes away with beautiful black magic. Your love's a drug, have you strong like an addict, but heartbreak helps shake the habit. Life's full of pain, one that's smoking. It's like I was Adam, you was Eve, but our garden of Eden was just a bad dream. Snakes in the grass said eat the apple, but once you did, all your demons grabbed you by the throat. Now they have you. Your heart turned to stone just like a statue. And every night I wake up screaming, my heart stops beating, the room is freezing, trying to figure out life and its meaning, but all I can think about is you leaving. Life's full of pain, sometimes it gets tragic, but it all goes away with beautiful black magic. Your love's a drug, have you strong like an addict, but heartbreak helps shape the habit. Life's full of pain, sometimes it's full of sadness. Was it really love, or was it madness? Was it just a ghost in your haunted palace? Or were we drawn together like metal to a magnet?
Really hoping that you would pick up because I miss you a lot, and I'm sorry that I'm crying right now, but I'm drunk, and I miss you so much. And I know that this is bullshit because you found a new perfect girl for you. But I miss you so much.
Life's full of pain, sometimes it gets tragic, but it all goes away with beautiful black magic. Your love's a drug, have you strong like an addict, but heartbreak helps shape the habit. Life's full of pain, sometimes it's full of sadness. Was it really love, or was it madness? Was it just a ghost in your haunted palace? Or were we drawn together like metal to a magnet? I don't know. 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 I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny hearing it in this context because I'll tell you that making this record, I pulled like that sounds all nice and like happy and everything like that, but the lyrics I've had for a long time, and it was about like, you know, this terrible breakup I went through. So that, like, I'd say 85% of the lyrics throughout this whole record are like dark stuff, whether it was relationship stuff or stuff that I went through like being addicted to drugs half my life, you know, the first part of my life, spending like that. Now I can just dig back and pull from there, you know what I mean? I don't have to experience it today to know that pain. So pulling all these old lyrics up and recording these songs like really fucked me up last week. Like I was really depressed. It hit me out of nowhere, you know what I mean? I was just... people think you just make a song and then you go off and it's off, but like the stuff haunts you, you know, especially when it's personal, you know. But this song was the first song recorded for this album actually, and got a huge wicked good reaction, you know, on social media, and so I immediately put it out. You can get it under Black Hesher Runaway, like on iTunes, Google Play, Apple Music, Tidal, all that stuff. But
We don't even need you, Dirty.
sorry,
They don't even need you or me. No, it's cool, man. No, seriously, King, you're sitting here, you're answering all the questions that we would ask, that fans would ask. You're just talking.
It's weird because I have like I have a different fan base too now than I have from when I first started out. You know what I mean? And it spans all ages, and you know, I've been noticing a lot more women are into my stuff. You know. Between the Black Hesher stuff and I do this group with my boy Big Mike called Swipe Right, which is kind of like, it started as a joke, like making fun of mainstream pop like dance stuff, and we quickly became like a new 2 Live crew. But then I noticed at the shows, like girls dancing and liking it, and we started making more songs.
Nice.
Yeah, and take note of everything he's said so far because it's all really important information that you need to know if you're trying to be an independent artist in the industry.
Yeah, man. Like you can... all you do is just get you can get a third party distributor, and you can get your songs right to wherever people streaming music. Like, and I have a weird business model because anything that I release, I also have a Bandcamp page. That's www.drcforever.com, and I put up all my albums for free as well. And what I found out is, I'll put some stuff will be free, or others just pay what you want. If you want to pay $0, you put in $0, you can download it, have the album. But what I've noticed is not everybody's hip to that. So some people, whether they have an iPhone or an Android, are more prone to go right to Google Play or Amazon.com or iTunes for music and just pay for it because some people still are afraid to click on a site that they don't know. And that's because of all these different ads with like clickbait and stuff. So, and I've noticed by putting out with Bandcamp, I can make something and put it right out. And that's how I've been gauging the reaction of all my new stuff. And I've put out so much free stuff since last summer, and I think that's how it built. It kind of caught on. So this is the first actual album that I'm putting out in a long time that I'm selling, and I'm going to see how that worked, giving so much free stuff away. And like this, if you want to go back to not being overproduced, I made this shit in my room at my house. You know what I mean? I have like a little office where we record, and it's really simple to the bones. A mixer, mic, my program.
That's something that a lot of people don't understand too, is that they think you need $10,000 worth of equipment and a big old studio and all this shit to release music, but you don't. If you're talented and you know what you're doing, you can get amazing sound and make amazing music out of whatever you have in front of you.
Right. Yeah. But too, somebody could give you $100,000 worth of equipment, but if you ain't got no soul or no talent, I could take away the talent part, because we've heard some garbage on the radio or that blows up that I'm not even going to say it like that.
That's
there's
funded.
A lot of crappy stuff.
That's social
media. But that's behind a machine. That's behind a machine, and where you see like a lot of like.
I tell you,
trap music
that machine being out there is what really dilutes the ability for a lot of musicians and artists to show themselves.
I've been through the ringer a couple times, with major and indie deals, and it doesn't always work out. People think like you get signed and then boom, you're famous or whatever, but they don't know the other aspect of it. It's like signing to a major record label is like buying your house, paying off your mortgage, but the bank still owns your house. You know what I mean? Everything's recoupable, everything that you're getting. And these days, like, labels are not giving out advances anymore, and the only people that are really getting huge money are people that have already been out on these labels for years. You know what I mean? Newer cats, like a lot of the newer trap kids you'll see that are blowing up, and they're getting all these followers on social media. Some of them fizzle out because they can't play live. You know what I mean? And some go on to I think this one kid, I can't remember his name, but he was terrible, but he just got like some headphone deal. Like the money's coming from other places. It's not from the music selling. It's coming from getting an endorsement deal or songs placed in like video games and stuff like this that I'm making now. I'm like really well aware of what am I sampling. You know what I mean? Making sure I own everything that I'm that 100%, so I can license it out.
Yep.
You go on my Bandcamp page, there's like good 75 albums between what I've released or people I produced or people that were down with my crew. DRC is a collective from the East Coast that I came out of, which was like a collection of musicians, rappers, filmmakers, graphic designers, and like we're kind of doing the same thing out here with King Bat Entertainment, which our manager runs, and I still do all the DRC stuff. It kind of collectively. I actually have two managers. Got Dave, who's in King Bat Entertainment, and this woman Francesca. And they do two different routes. Dave's more hip hop, but he's starting to get into the rock clubs, and she's got me some shows coming up at like Casbah or the Merrow. You know what I mean? So like these two different routes, but it's all coming ahead. And
let me ask you this: so with your managers, are they industry experienced managers, or are they just working with you? And
one is.
Yep.
And one isn't.
Okay.
One she's new, but she knows all the right people.
Yep.
And then on top of what I know as well, it's not like I just like, oh, here, go do whatever. Like I was still grinding every day. I was still making things happen. And on my own. You know, I just have a better view of why I'm doing it and where it's going. And plus everything is just so wide open. Like the fact that I can make something that can get it to people immediately hasn't changed. You know what I mean? That's how it's been for years now, but even more so, I can get directly on iTunes. I can get directly on, literally, I'm on everything except for Pandora. I don't know.
Pandora's really hard to get on. They're very selective.
They are. But I'm on Spotify. That's what I use. I already got a blue check too from them.
Yeah.
So like I'm with Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
Right.
It's
iHeartRadio too.
Yep.
I'm on that's easy to get on.
Yep.
Like if you're out there and you listen to us and this is what you want to do, just do it. The whole point is that don't be like a super villain in a superhero movie. Don't explain your whole plan to everybody so you can get foiled. Just go out and do it, you know, and just go follow your dreams and it will happen as long as you have persistence.
Yep. And it's hard. Like this is one of the hardest industries I reckon to be successful in. And it takes a lot more work than anything else. Like you got to work your ass off 24/7.
Everybody is wanting to take a piece of what you do to help you out.
Well, I'm learning now as I'm making, because the two projects I'm working on right now, the Black Hesher record and the Swipe Right record are two.
Is that a Tinder reference, by the way?
Yeah, 2 worlds away. They're 2 worlds away, but they're catchy as fuck. Everything that I've put on this record, as weird as it may be, it's just catchy as fuck. And I used to be, when I first started, I didn't care about that. I want to be, you know, unique and different. I want to do something like screw the radio. Now that I'm older, it just happens by accident, and I'm not even thinking about it.
That's called experience.
And now all of a sudden, people are coming back to me because for years and years it was like I was so ahead of things that I was getting left behind, you know. And now it's like the world's almost caught up to the way I think in a way.
Yeah. Let's hear another track. What do we got?
Your Heroes.
Your Heroes.
Yeah.
Is that from
Black Hesher record? Yeah.
All right. So this song's called Your Heroes.
Your Heroes
by King Shem from his Black Hesher album.
Telemundo.
It's just like slowly building. I know that noise.
Yeah, rap stupid, thanks for pointing that out. I grab the first working mic in the joint and I shout about freedom, drugs and other shit like that. Have you asking where the Shem learn to spit like that? 30 years making music and I lost so much. Still paying dues, they cost so much. And a b-boy stand still holding my crotch. I get up on stage while a few fans watch, pouring out my soul like a bottle of scotch. Top-notch rock spots with the free throw shots. Make the crowd scream like I stabbed them with a needle. Fuck rap, fuck MCs, I'm more like the Beatles. MCs are see-through with hooks that I laugh at. Book a rhyme pages in my fucking backpack. In case you were wondering, I know this won't sell. I ain't trying to go platinum, I'm trying to go to hell. Fuck all your heroes, I hope they get shot. I'll be getting drunk in the parking lot. To throw the empty bottles is a bitch-ass cop. The body non-stop up and down the block. Fuck all your heroes, I hope they get shot. I'll be getting drunk in the parking lot. To throw the empty bottles is a bitch-ass cop. The body non-stop up and down the block. They call me King Shem, I'm surprisingly good. I got a rhyme for every black man who dies in the hood, and a line for every cop that dies when he should. Leave suckers like Geppetto playing with their wood. For every line that I sniff, every drink that I drank, every rhyme that I spit, every ship that I sank. There's pressure every time I grab the mic and start rhyming. And pressure either bust pipes or makes diamonds. And I'll be shining just like Danny Torrance at the Overlook Hotel during a Red Rum performance. I got endurance, time to kill this game. MCs need insurance when I bring the pain. And I don't give a fuck what Kanye West is doing. Too busy trying to stop my life from being ruined. Hitting the booth like revenge is all that's left. Like the mic's my enemy and I'm out for death. Fuck all your heroes that hope they get shot. I'll be getting drunk in the parking lot. To throw the empty bottles at some bitch ass cops. The body non-stop up and down the block. Fuck all your heroes that hope they get shot. I'll be getting drunk in the parking lot. To throw the empty bottles at some bitch ass cops. The body non-stop up and down the block. Fuck all your heroes that hope they get shot. I'll be getting drunk in the parking lot. To throw the empty bottles at some bitch ass cops. The body non-stop up and down the block. Fuck all your heroes that hope they get shot. I'll be getting drunk in the parking lot. To throw the empty bottles at some bitch ass cops. The body non-stop up and down the block.
Look here at the young face and bright smile, which could be the hope of the world. But in the other half of the picture is revealed the seduction of the innocent.
Yeah.
I love that style of music. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I've been a fan of that forever.
Stuff like that, especially like when I'm playing live.
I like the speak
you'll
and
see-
spell sample.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, if you want to go back to sampling, those two songs, they sound great. Band sounds great. But there's no band. Those are all samples. Everything that you heard in those two songs, they're just live samples, and I made the sample.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So taking that art form and how to use it without taking anything from anybody else, really. You know?
So
but I still have that aesthetic.
4 bar, 8 bar, 16 bar
Yeah,
loops.
I mean, like when you're in the program, it becomes math. But like when I'm layering my drums and stuff like that, like I'd never quantize anything or anything like that. Like if I make a drum loop, like first I'll build the drums and then I'll loop it up. And then when I'm layering stuff, like like each one of my songs has got to be at least 5 different drum tracks layered on top of each other, all slightly seconds apart. So it's still, even though it's a loop, it still has a human feel to it. You know, it's not just like a techno beat where it's just boom, boom, boom in a grid.
Yep.
Like I hate that stuff. You know what I mean? I'll start with a sound or sometimes, but it's not all. Like there's other stuff in there that is layered that are just like VSD plug-in instruments, MIDI instruments. I have like so much stuff, especially with vintage keyboards and stuff like that I'll use.
That's a big part of the hip hop culture is looping and sampling, and basically what you're doing is you're taking inspiration from people and you're also making your own.
Right.
And that's taking it a step further, because there's a lot of producers, so-called producers or bedroom producers or beat makers, let's call them, who are just taking stuff off of YouTube and looping shit or sampling from these
well,
guys.
there's a difference between like just looping up, say like a James Brown loop and just letting it go. And then if you look at something like Paul's Boutique with the Dust Brothers and Matt Dyke, where they had like 15, 20 samples playing at the same time, like layered. Not only that, is like a lot of producers, I've noticed they don't take time to even get their samples in tune with each other. You know what I mean? Sometimes that works depending on the song that you're making. Because like I just produced like 6 beats for this group that's going to be coming on tour with me and Van Brando. They're called the Bermuda, and they're from Coachella Valley, I think. Yes. But they have that real New York kind of hip-hop group rapping together vibe, you know, of like, and they hit me up. They wanted like just some like really dirty East Coast New York style hip-hop, you know, and a lot of times when I'm making that, it's not so much about making sure everything's in tune, but if I'm making a song like this, I got to make sure everything's kind of in tune with each other. So it sounds like it fits together, you know.
That's important. Like, do you tune your drums? You know, if you have a kick or a snare, you know, do you tune those to make sure they fit with the key of your music and everything?
Right.
It goes a long way in the end. Like, it does.
And you know, the thing about this record, the Black Hesher record, is understanding like that. even though I was talking about earlier, like I like to make the album like all the way through, like this is how it's supposed to be played, but understanding that people don't necessarily always listen to music like that anymore. That's why the record's like it is, because each song, I made it like it was the only Hesher song, you know? So every song is different. There's only 2 songs that are similar. There's a similar song to Runaway, and there's 2 punk songs that are kind of similar, but everything else is just like boom, 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 like you're listening to a playlist.
In your song Runaway, did you do your backup vocals?
Yeah.
And did you tune them? Like with
No.
The raw,
If I pulled, especially with like the ahs, if I pulled all the music away, you'll hear how out of key it is, but it's so layered that it just sounds good. But like if you hear it, if I isolate a lot of tracks, you'll hear how to. But yeah, I'm not into auto-tune at all. You know what I mean? I'll use just like a little bit of reverb, and I like using delays a lot on my vocals, you know.
And that's something that's interesting. When I first started getting it, you mentioned layering your drum parts and whatnot. When I first started getting into recording my own music, like to me, it was mentally. I mentally set it up the way you would set it up in at an actual, like a live recording. I set up my multi-track that way, but you can't stick with that because you have to add more layers and more depth in order to get it to sound produced.
Right. Well, sometimes because both have these 2 punk songs on the album. One is one of my favorites called Go Away. It's only about like a minute long. And then this other song, Hammer in the Sky, I went the opposite way. There are 3 music tracks. It's the drums, the bass and guitar, and they're all pretty much live. And then, you know, while I sampled it from the live recordings of it and made it the way I wanted, but I didn't layer anything. I kept it raw. I kept I think only like 1 vocal take, maybe 1 backup, and I kept it as simple as possible because going back to when I was saying I made that like 70s style beat, it's for the song I got that's going on the album called Evil Knievel. So in my head I was like, I gotta make Evil Knievel music. Like right now, it's not even finished, and there's already like 56 tracks because there's so much going on. When you hear it, you wouldn't think that because everything's in sync, but there's little things coming in, little things coming out, and it's just a super 70s car show thing. And I mean, like there's flutes going on, there's horns, it's like it's perfect, but sometimes that's good for the song, other times, but I know when to be like, this only needs 3 things. Sometimes you make mistakes and they end up being the best thing that could have happened to you.
Yeah, especially with things like inflections. If you're playing an instrument, you know those are the things that shine out and make it something special.
Dynamics.
Yep,
If you ever took a music class in school, dynamics are the key.
Right. Yeah.
Are you musically trained?
No, not at all.
So you taught yourself everything?
Just let me try to do this, you know. But that's what I love about hip hop, and that's like I love about punk. Like with punk, is something I only like. I've always been around it, but I've never really personally listened to it a lot. I've only recently started getting into it because it's new to me, like hip hop was. You know what I mean? And what I realized is some of the best records were people just doing it. Techno and house, where kids were just buying these cool looking machines that were in pawn shops and just started messing with them. They didn't have manuals or nothing. They just accidentally created all these sounds. You know, anytime I got equipment, I think there's maybe one or 2 times in my life I bought something brand new that came in the manual, and I immediately looked at it and just threw it. You know what I mean? Like, because I didn't want to read it. I just wanted to, let me just touch this. You know, sometimes you reference something to figure something out, but everything's just kind of like hands-on. It's good to keep that in your head. So, like, if somebody out there is listening and you're intimidated by picking up a guitar or a set of turntables or a bass or anything, man, you just pick it up and just go for it.
It's a creative art. Like there's no rules, you know. People put rules on music, but there's no rules.
No. And it's the same thing, kind of like with the business aspect of the music. Like there's aren't really any rules on that. There are norms that have been followed. Like I've been noticing that a lot of people think that there are rules in how to proceed with like selling your music, selling your merch or whatnot, but you can do it through any channel you want.
Right.
As long as you reach people. That's the whole key.
That's true though. Like, if you've got a good product and you believe what you're doing is, you know, if you're doing it from the heart and it's what you really want to do, and if you put yourself out there, it's going to come back, but you got to put yourself out there. That's where a lot of people fall down is they don't know how to put themselves out there. There's a world with so many people, you know,
confidence in yourself. And that doesn't mean like be a dick and not open to constructive criticism. But at the end of the day, only you know what you like. And if you like something, then just stand behind it. For every song that somebody hears, I'm finally at the point, like, I know how to filter out what I don't like, you know. But if you're finally hearing it, it's because I like it. And like, people in my circle, like, I'll shoot ideas back and forth, and people like different things, you know. And I also produce a lot for other cats, so like I have this whole vault of beats, and I could give an MC like 20 beats and he might not like any of them, but I'm not like upset about it. Not every rapper can rap to any beat, you know, and my styles jump around everywhere. Like, my style is to have no style.
Where else can people find you, like on social media and whatnot, to follow you?
You can find me on MySpace, Friendster, AOL dial-up chat. No.
I would. I knew
Facebook?
you weren't. The moment you
On
said
Facebook,
MySpace, I knew you weren't serious.
My music page on Facebook, King Shem. Also Cooler Than Smack, which is a band I came out of. Those are my two music pages. King Bat Entertainment is another page. You'll find both me and Van Brando. Any music streaming service, if you just put King Shamrock Christ, SHEMROK Christ, you'll find my whole last soul album, bunch of different EPs, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio.
Everywhere.
I think it's even like Napster. I think somehow that still exists. Shazam.
Yeah, Napster still exists.
Yeah, it is. It's a music sharing. Yeah.
Shazam, like any music service except for Pandora.
Don't even try to go to
starting
Pandora.
with the new mixtape. Like, I kind of just shortened it to King Shem. Like when I first started rapping, it was Shamrock, and I started this band called Cool and the Smack. We put out 2 albums before he got picked up by a major, and well, I did. We kind of like imploded. We were like, this is like 96, 97. My first album came out actually on vinyl, cassette and vinyl.
So you've been on the scene for quite a while.
And we were rapping about drugs. I mean, the band was called Cool and Smack. There were no like Eminem's yet or anybody like that. So it was, people dug it, but companies were afraid of it. Actually, my partner that I started that band with, his name's Dave Wedge. He actually wrote the book that the Patriot Day movie.
Oh, really?
The Patriot Day movie, yeah. So we went like different paths. He went on to be a journalist, and I just kept making music just because it kept me together, you know.
Well, we've got plenty to work with for this episode, so we'll. I was thinking we can end it now and kind of go out with your other song, which is called "The Bottle of Pills." If you're okay with that.
Yeah,
Like, kinda
yeah.
have
Also,
that be the outro.
real quick, Van Brando, you wanna see if we can get your albums? Because if you're into my stuff, you're definitely gonna be into this cat.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I mean, Shem has done a great fucking job on this interview. He's giving a lot of fucking knowledge out there. I'm stoked. I'm learning stuff about him right now just listening to him, because
Yeah.
we've really only hung once in his studio. But
Well, we'll
we've
get you in on another episode.
That's what I was thinking.
good.
Like, but this
Yeah,
is
that's
really
a good
good,
hit.
man.
That's a good hit.
Come to the show. I promise you, we're fucking
Yeah.
entertaining.
If I can get the
tickets?
Yeah,
I got them.
All right, yeah, we got some tickets for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Intense.
And are you playing with the band or
You got
DJ?
Big Scary Robot there. I played with those guys.
Oh,
a couple
also,
times.
before we go out, let me say this back about the swipe right stuff. If you want to hear a funny song and laugh your ass off, we have the song called Titty Boy out. The video is on YouTube. Just look up King Shem.
I watched
Titty
it.
Boy. It's like some Adult Swim style shit, and that's what started Swipe Right. And now like we have like tons of songs like that, and that's slowly building as well. So now when I play live, I do like the first half of my set is like my solo stuff, and then I always end with like 2 or 3 songs from Swipe Right, which you'll get to see live on the 21st. It's gonna be a crazy show. It's gonna be intense.
Awesome.
Plus midgets, man.
I know. I'm there. So thank you for coming on the show, King
Thank
Shem.
you. Thank you for
Appreciate
having us.
your presence and all the information you shared with everybody. It's really important information. You know, this is the Bottle of Pills by King Shem off the Black Hesher album. Be sure to get connected with them and support. You know.
Thank you so much to King Shem for coming out and sitting down on the futon with us, as well as Van Brando for joining him and saying a few words on the episode. Big thank you to Dirty Disciple of Noise Cartel Records for being our host of this episode. And I'm Big Jon, your co-host and engineer. And make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you can find us. Go check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Dusty Futon. If you'd like to support the Dusty Futon directly, we will be offering behind-the-scenes access and many other features for a small monthly contribution. You can also go to dustyfuton.com, where you can hear every episode ever produced of the Dusty Futon. And don't forget to check out Backstage360.com for some incredible information and editorials about bands coming to San Diego and all over the country. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Dusty Futon, a Dusty Futon LLC production. And we will see you next episode right here on The Dusty Futon.
Somebody shoot me so I can go out in a blaze of lead. To 3 days later, rise from the dead. This bottle of pills kills my pain. Colossal chills spill out my brain. Awful thrills drive me insane. I will never be the same again. This bottle of pills kills my pain. Colossal chills spill out my brain. Awful thrills drive me insane. I will never be the same again. At night I can't sleep, but I don't count sheep. I count up all the